We the people, the opening words of the preamble of the United States Constitution. These words signify the power of our government. It originates with us, we the citizens, not the government. In other words, the government exists to serve us and not the other way around. Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Frederick, your host. Thank you so much for joining us for Voices of We the People, a podcast for coastal North Carolina. This podcast is about how we take action to address the challenges to our well-being unfolding in Washington, D.C., in the State House in Raleigh, and in our local communities. We hope to offer lessons learned and actions to take to empower ourselves and our communities. Our guest today demonstrates how our power to create change starts with an understanding that voting empowers us to take on the steep climb, to believe that inside each of us, we have the power to change the world, starting with our communities. I am so pleased to introduce my guest, who daily demonstrates that voting and commitment can change our lives. Welcome, 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 Representative Butler. We are so honored to have you and, and completely grateful for what we have done this few minutes to get on the air. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Representative Butler is an attorney, and she represents the District 18, which is New Hanover County, a position that she's held since 2017. And in that position, she serves on the Finance, Judiciary, and Transportation Committees. Her message of empowerment is one of how we stand up, strengthen ourselves to push back, improve our lives, and the lives of our families and communities. Again, welcome so much, Representative Butler. You know, I hope that you will be able to start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, your philosophy, and what inspired you to run for office in the first place. Please.
Gosh, well, thank you, Dr. Frederick. It is certainly a pleasure to be with you and on the inaugural podcast. I feel very grateful and honored to hold that designation. I hope to do it proud for you this evening. As you stated, I'm an attorney, having graduated from Wake Forest University School of Law a long time ago. As a young person, I went immediately to New York City because that's what all young lawyers aspire to, and I practiced there for 7 years with this accent, I might add, which was not an easy thing from time to time. And then decided about 7 years into it that I had had enough of New York City and I wanted to come back home to North Carolina. And so moved to Wilmington, started my practice, started investing in old historic houses and building sweat equity, and trying to make a living. And honestly, Gloria, I thought about public service for many years because it is a calling, but I didn't have the resources. I'm not a wealthy person. I didn't have the resources to do it. And when asked by our local party, I said, I have to earn a living. And the salaries, unfortunately, for elected officials, in my opinion, are too low
They
because
are.
young people, it's not that I need a raise now that I'm long in the tooth, but young people can't participate because the salaries are too low. And so what happens is you get a lot of retired or people who are wealthy or folks who have another revenue stream in Raleigh and in Washington. And I think an injection of youth is sorely needed. So
I totally agree with you that we really need to reach out to our young people. And this podcast will be doing that. In fact, we have an advisor who's here. She's in charge of the Young Dems for Onslow County. And we are reaching out to young people. Got a question for you though. In your um, travels, as you were collecting votes and making memories, what actually inspired you to run for office in the first place? You mentioned that you really wanted to be a public service, and I was wondering, once you made the decision, how did people respond when you initially said that you wanted to run for office?
well, I'll tell you something, Dr. Gloria, something that I told a group of fourth graders about 5 years ago. For me, public speaking and being an elected official is a very intimidating, like it is for anyone. It's a very intimidating process and an intimidating uh, job.
Yeah,
But to relieve that anxiety, I find myself typically very well prepared for whatever I do. And again, it's not that I'm all that, it's not that I'm that smart, but I just don't want to be caught unawares.
yeah.
So when I first announced to the local Democratic Party that I wanted to run for office, I had already studied every issue. I had very strong opinions about each of those issues, and I hope that I articulated them well. And when I did that, the party responded um, with a full-throated endorsement, and I was very grateful for that. And so I had a team of volunteers with me right out of the gate because I had convinced them that I was committed to it and that I would do it to the best of my ability. And I think they appreciated that, and we were off to the races.
That seems to me to be a major lesson learned, that you had the wherewithal and commitment
Yeah.
to do the research, to understand what was going on, and to convince people that you could represent them. I
And I'll
think that's amazing.
and I'll tell you, Gloria, when I made a reference to those fourth graders, this is what I said to them. I said, I would rather be prepared than scared. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
principal told me she was going to make that the school motto: be prepared, not scared.
I'm going to adopt that myself because I feel like I'm taking a journey here with this podcast.
There you
It's
go.
the same thing. I was wondering, um, has anything changed in your thinking from when you made the decision to run for office and now that you've served some time in the office? Have you had
Yes,
changes?
yes.
Yes.
Um, I was somewhat naive, I think, as every newcomer to the legislature is. I was a little bit of an idealist. I
Only
believed
a
that
little bit.
maybe a lot. That has
Yes.
changed because I firmly believe that there were some things that just shouldn't be political. And how could anybody politicize, for example, climate change or school lunches for hungry children or good fiscal policy? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have learned that the hyperpartisanship that we're suffering now will politicize anything. And that's too bad because it's sure not good for North Carolina. And I hope that in my lifetime, we'll get past it where good ideas matter and we get behind them and we do what's best for all North Carolinians, regardless of who had the idea. My fingers are crossed, and I'm a little cynical now, but hope springs eternal, and I'm not going to give up.
Excellent, excellent. You know, um, I heard by the grapevine that you're really great at charging forward, taking stands, including standing on a table, I believe. Could
Well,
you
I
tell
didn't
us
stand on
about
the
that?
table. I
Yeah,
didn't
could you
stand
tell
on
us
the
about
table.
that?
Well, I didn't stand on the table, but I did refuse to yield the floor, and I kept my microphone on, even though they cut it off. I kept going to get other microphones, and this was when uh, then Speaker Moore called a surprise vote on a veto override of the budget in 2019, I believe it was, and it was horrific. We had held the line. I was the chief whip at that time, and we had defeated him on every vote to the point where his leadership team told our then leader, Darren Jackson, there would be no votes on the morning of 9/11. Now, we know what happened on 9/11.
9/11. Yeah.
So this was, there were a lot of memorials and remembrances happening. And he had said his leadership team told our leader that there would be no votes. And when we got in there that morning, I just went in because I thought there would be some ceremonial things, the color guard and that sort of thing. And lo and behold, every Republican seated, stone-faced, straightforward, ready to pull a very deceitful, deceptive, and corrupt vote. And it was so traumatic. And yes, just you can Google me and the phrase "I will not yield," and you'll see what I'm talking about. And it was on MSNBC that week. I was famous that week.
I want to keep that in mind because I'm going to put that on our website.
Oh, you got to do it. It's quite a thing. And I'll tell you the funniest thing I had at that time. I had about 600, what was then called Twitter. I had about 600 Twitter followers, and the next morning I had 25,000.
Wow. Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
You know, I wonder though, with all the actions that you take, in terms of the voting, in terms of getting out and talking with your constituents,
yeah,
um, how do you explain we the people to them?
yeah. Well, it's very interesting. And I will talk to you today about something I just heard on the news that is very upsetting. And that is our president's instinct to prosecute anyone who has crossed him. Specifically, the Attorney General of New York today, Letitia James, was indicted on charges that had already been dismissed as inconsequential by other MAGA Republican prosecutors.
Yes.
So, he apparently believes that the law does not apply to all of us equally. But we, the
And
people, to
especially not
me,
him. Right.
right. And we, the people, to me, means that we are all responsible for our actions. Um, we are all covered by the same laws. We are all responsible to uphold the law, and we are
Mm-hmm.
also responsible to participate in our government and to vote without hesitation. And I don't care if we're electing the dog catcher, you need to get yourself out there to vote. It's your civic responsibility. And I feel very strongly about that. That's the first thing I look at. When someone calls my office and wants to talk to me, I'm like, let me see this person's voting record because I want to know that I'm dealing with a good, civic minded voter. And people don't know that that's public record, but it is. I can't tell
It
how you
really
voted.
is.
I can't tell how you voted, but I can darn sure tell whether you voted. So I'm looking at you.
And that's good to know because I learned recently, I was reading a study, and the study was saying that if people vote 3 times, they're likely to keep voting.
Right.
And so our challenge is to get them to the polls in the first place. And sometimes people will only vote for the presidential election, but there's so much more going on locally. So, could you talk a little bit about our local need for voting?
Well, the voting that affects you most is that down ballot vote. And if you flip that thing over, and the ones at the very bottom are typically the ones that have the most effect on your life directly. You know, your city councilmen, your county commissioners, your judges. Oh my gosh, the judges, so important.
Oh, the
Yeah,
judges.
I mean, the down ballot drop off is a problem because, again, soil and water, the soil and water district manager, that is an important job. They're all important jobs. And look, yeah, you know, vote the whole ticket. That's absolutely essential.
It really is. You know, I'm wondering, how do you use your residents' concerns and about the issues that you are concerned about to improve your understanding of the needs that they have? And how do you use that information to empower folks around you?
Yeah, it's a little frustrating to me because I have become aware that too many of our citizens don't really understand how government works or how laws are made. And so I spend a lot of time educating people on the process. And they come to me with, I'll give you an example from today. A husband and wife sent me an email saying that they had a son who had been incarcerated for 8 years, and they were very interested in House Bill 589, which is called the second, not the Second Chance Act, but the Second Look Act, I think it is.
Okay.
And that bill was put forward by my seatmate, former judge, Representative Marcia Morey out of Durham. And this bill would have a panel that would re-examine the incarceration of folks to see whether or not a reduction in their sentence was warranted, given a long list of criteria. Well, that bill was filed by my colleague and went nowhere. It went to the Rules Committee, which is where Republicans who are in charge right now send bills to die. And even though it needed to get a committee hearing, I mean, look, we need to reduce the prison population. We are busting at the seams. We don't have enough personnel to properly manage these prisons. It's a real problem. So for those folks who like their son, and I don't know the particulars yet, because I had to report to them that the bill was going nowhere, unfortunately. But I did want to, and I made myself available to chat with them, and we'll probably schedule that this week because I do want to hear their concerns, even though I have to disappoint them with the results of that bill and the fact that and the reality
So
that it's
it
not
did
going to
not
happen.
make it. It didn't make it.
It didn't even get a fair shake. It didn't even get the first committee
Um,
hearing.
yeah.
So, yeah,
And that's a real issue.
it
And
is. It happens all the time.
it does. It does. Um, I was wondering too, how do you um, decide which of the issues that are confronting you in the legislature? How do you decide this is where I don't want to say the hill I'm going to die on, but
Yeah, yeah,
which is how do you decide what's important to you and your constituents? And
yeah.
then how do you take some action?
I am one of the founding members and currently serving as the co-chair of the North Carolina Progressive House Caucus. And we formed that.
That should be in your bio.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it
It's a
should
fairly new
be.
development.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay.
we formed that group to do just what you're talking about, Gloria, to tackle these super strong issues, immigration, climate, proper education for our children in the public school system, all of these really intense issues. We just decided we're not going to be wallflowers about it. The issues are too important. Um, I don't know if you know this, but this crime bill that we just passed in North Carolina is going to allow the death penalty to be implemented by electrocution, firing squad.
Sounds so primitive.
Well, listen, this is a situation. It's certainly it's just a it's political theater what they've done with that, because if you really
It
cared
is.
about crime, you'd put some money in there. You would fund mental health instead of cutting it. You know, it's much ado about nothing, except it's all about inflaming people, not solving problems. And so the
And that's
Progressive House,
happening nationally too.
of
That's what's going
course,
on nationally.
of course. And so, again, right now I'm flamed up about the way migrant workers are being treated. I'm flamed up about rolling back protections of our water quality. I'm fired up about the fact that we have um, teachers who are being paid at the bottom of the barrel and per pupil spending is at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, there's no shortage of things I can get real animated about in a hurry. But you have to call on your colleagues. They have to fight some battles. You have to fight some battles, and together you've got a good fighting force, and that's what we have, particularly in the Progressive House Caucus.
That's good to know. And I was not aware of that there is a Progressive House Caucus. So that's something we can talk about among ourselves, but also put the word
Yeah,
out that it exists
yeah.
and
And
what
I'll
it's
tell
to
you,
do.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm so
Oh, no
excited
problem.
about it because we have a new website. I would invite people to go to it. I think it's NCPHC. You know, I haven't memorized it yet, but you can Google it and find it. We take contributions. We have formed a PAC because we want to elect people who share our core values. And so we are going to work on expanding the map and electing people who are going to be fighters like we are. And so I would invite people to go to that website, check us out. If you've got $5, send it our way. I'd love to have that. So, um, yeah, very excited about it.
We're going to take a brief break, and then we will be
Okay.
right back with Representative Butler. You are listening to Voices of We the People. Our guest is Representative Deb Butler, and we'll return to our discussion in a moment. You might ask, what's next for Voices of We the People? Well, I'm excited to let you know that our next group of episodes will be on mental health, on addiction, and we'll be talking about some of the issues around rural health care, especially around access and around behavioral health and addiction for rural North Carolinians. So we'll be starting that series in at the end of this month and going into November. So that's what we're going to be doing soon. We're going to be doing that soon. And I think that that's our little message for the interim. So we're back. Let
Okay.
me ask you this. Um, what's your best elevator speech for how to strengthen our communities?
You know, I tell people the thing that I think motivates us all is that the working middle class is evaporating. We have extraordinary wealth in the top 1%, and the rest of us, not so much. You know, I remember, Gloria, and you do too, because we're probably about the same age. Don't you
Mhm.
remember when you were growing up that one working adult in a household could pay the bills for the whole family? That left
Well,
the other adult to care for the children if they saw fit, to work if they saw fit, but it wasn't this 2 and 3 jobs per adult trying to make ends meet. So what happened in the mid 70s is all of these corporations and all of these employers started favoring the shareholder instead of the employee. And that's when we began to see the erosion, in my opinion, of the middle class. And we've got to build it back. Workers' rights, um, shared prosperity and not this just just incredible income disparity that we see in this country now. When people really understand that, they get righteously pissed off, and they should, and it should
They
be a call to action.
they absolutely should. And I was looking at some of the statistics on what people are concerned about right now. The administration had said that we're gonna, get rid of, we're gonna reduce the cost of groceries. Well, what's happened? And housing. What's happened? And all of that affects people who used to be middle class, and they're struggling to maintain middle class, and some of them aren't making. And then we have the healthcare issue.
Mhm.
That that has so many ramifications.
Well, in Raleigh, we have failed. We were the last in the country to expand Medicaid, first of all, which was atrocious. And when we finally did it, we got 600,000 more North Carolinians the care that they are entitled to and they desperately need. And now, because of the cost shifting coming from the federal government, North Carolina, we have not funded adequately our Medicaid rebase. We're 200, I think, $1 million short, and that is going to cut the people you're talking about.
I think so too. Um, I think I'm getting a notice that I should wrap up, but I have a question, a couple of questions.
116 years
Oops, I'm hearing a little, we're going to work out these technical bugs on the inaugural, because I hear
So
a
I
little
hear something
something.
too.
Let's talk over it.
inspire and to
There we go.
Uh, we hear the word accountability a great deal, and you've really talked about it around the edges. But how do you relate accountability to the people that you serve? How do you explain that what you're doing is what they asked for?
Yeah. Well, I take it very seriously. I believe in leading by example.
Hmm.
Some of my colleagues don't do that. And I just feel like, hell, I don't even park in the fire lane at Food Line because I don't want anybody to say that Butler's, doing something she shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
I think you
yeah.
have to lead by example. I think people expect more from you that is appropriate, and you've got to live to that standard. And if you can't do it, you need to get out of the way and let somebody else do it. You need to show up, you need to do the job, you need to listen to the people who sent you there. And if you can't do that, you're in it for the wrong reasons. So
Indeed,
I've been
indeed.
very mindful of that from the beginning, and it served me well.
Amazing. I just have one small question for you. What concerns you the most now, and gives you hope? And what sort of says, well, I'm not sure about what's going on? The concerns and the hopes that you have.
Gloria, I feel I'm very afraid because if you look at other places in the world who have enjoyed democracy and had it stripped away at the hands of a dictator,
Yes,
we are checking far too many boxes on that
yes,
path.
ma'am.
And
Yes.
my fear is that we are vilifying the press. We are behaving like a dictator and a king. We are undermining people's confidence in elections unfairly and unjustly. So those things concern me a great deal, and I have great fear about that. But I do still believe that the American people, when pushed too far, are going to respond, and hopefully in this midterm with a very loud message to say, we are not going to go the way of Hitler's Germany or Maduro's Venezuela or
Or,
any of these other places, that we are going to be a republic like we were designed, and the people will have the final word.
I am so grateful for our conversation. I'm grateful too for your sticking with us so that we can have this conversation. Thank you so much for
Well,
this.
you are very welcome.
And I especially like the lessons that you have taught us tonight.
Well, I hope that people can take some positive energy away from it. And I want to thank you because you are doing what needs to be done and giving voice to these issues and doing your part in saving our democracy. So thanks to you. And I hope your listeners do what you tell them to do and get out there and vote and get active.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your insightfulness, your thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frederick. It's been a pleasure.
Before we go, I want to give a shout out to our podcast team, or at least part of them, to Diane Tyndall, to Wade Wilson, to Gloria Goodwin, to Molly Haldeman. Remember that Reverend Dr. King believed in the ability to change society through the vote. The great irony of our present moment is that both those precepts, peaceful change and voting rights, are under assault and threatened in America like never before. Thank you all for listening to Voices of We the People. I appreciate your listening, and you can have a look at our website at voicesofwethepeople.com for more information about what we do and upcoming events. Thank you very much.